All right, so a bit of a strange topic today, kind of a discussion topic as opposed to just like a recommendation or any like a move set idea, kind of just a discussion idea. And the discussion is Scarf Gengar viable? Now, um, Scarf Gengar has always been a scoffed at idea, and I personally have always scoffed at the idea. Whenever I go get someone who runs Scarf Gengar, I always laugh at them. I'm like, wow, this guy's bad because it used to be very bad, and I'm going to explain why it used to be very bad. Because usually when people say why is Scarf Gengar bad, people say, um, A, you're wasting a lot of offensive potential. B, it's already so fast. And those are the two biggest reasons. And other reasons are like it's a lot of supportive, really good moves that you're going to be missing out on. And I'm gonna kind of explain each one of those points because neither one of them really tell you anything just by stating them like that. So offensive potential, really that ties in with the second point of it's already really fast because often whenever you want to build on your offensive potential, it basically means you have to be able to get your hits off, kind of, if that kind of makes sense. So, um, there's two kinds of things that you can build on an offensive potential with. Things that are like bulky, like Conkeldurr, or things that are really fast. And the better option is things that are really fast because you get the last hit off, unless you've got priority, like Bishop. But basically, what I'm saying is, if if you outspeed everything, then you can just put as much as you can into its offenses because you just outspeed everything already. Um, so the idea of it's already so fast, the idea of you don't need to have a scarf because it's already so fast, it made sense back in X and Y, and I'm going to explain why it made sense back in X and Y. Because in X and Y, the 110 speed tier was it was like one of the best speed tiers like in the game pretty much. Like it was like the go-to, like it was one of the speed tiers that like you had to play around. Like you had to, yeah, like it was a speed tier that you had to play around. Like it was one of the speed tiers that was very important. And the reason that 110 was so good is because there's like three there's like four or five things that were like that would outspeed Gengar at that speed tier. There's very little that actually outsped. So 9 times out of 10, if you had a scarf, it was going to be a wasted item because you outsped the majority of things anyway. So the things that in X and Y OU, and I say OU because like for instance, a Zangoose is MU, right? You're not going to put a dedicated Zangoose counter. You're not going to try to prepare for Zangoose in OU because it's very uncommon to see it. So there's a lot of Pokemon that rose in usage from XY to ORS, and for that reason, I'm not counting a lot of Pokemon that weren't used very much in X and Y. But anyway, I'll just go over the things. In X and Y OU, basically the only things that like outsped Gengar and that were actually common were like there's like three electric types. Mega Manectric after Mega Evolving. It's actually pretty interesting because I'm pretty sure Mega Manectric gets like O-code by Sledge Wave, which in itself is kind of nice because that means they can't Mega on you. Plus you live like any hit anyway, but like it outspeeds you. But like I'm pretty sure you O-code with Sledge Wave before. And then Raikou and Thundurus. Both of those were really good Pokemon. They were both all three of those outsped Gengar. The only thing that really sped tie with Gengar was Lottie, and Lottie was one of the fastest Pokemon as well. One of the fastest offensive, really supportive, just really all around good Pokemon. One of the best defoggers. So to have a Pokemon that can pretty much OHKO and have potentially OHKO and speed tie with something like that was really powerful. And then there's like, well, those were really the only noteworthy things. And the reason I say that is because Alakazam, Starmie, and things like Azulf or even Weavile were very uncommon. Like I rarely saw any of them in X and Y. I'm not saying they weren't there, but they were very rare. To be honest with you, Weavile was borderline, and everyone saw it was in borderline and was like, "Oh, I guess this is bad." Well, I guess that's not really the reason. Weavile got more usage because it's just better in this meta. But so Weavile was BL and barely anyone used it. And Starmie, Zam were UU and just not. I honestly don't know why they were UU, but they were. And nobody really used them in OU. So none of those were really threats that you had to prepare for being outsped. Having those weren't threats that you had to prepare that were going to outspeed your Gengar. So you didn't need a Scarf on your Gengar for those. But the option that I'm presenting right now is there's the 110 speed tier is not anywhere close to being what it used to be in ORAS because there's just so much more faster offensive things. There's just so much more faster things that just like sure you're a life orb or you're a specs Gengar, but you're not going to land the hit, so it's not going to matter, right? So you just have to switch anyway. So there's just so much more offensive things that are a lot faster. Like the speed tier for 110 has really dropped in value, and I think people haven't adjusted accordingly to that in terms of what can and can't be scarfed. For instance, there's a lot of new, really fast megas. Only a few of the ones I mentioned are going to be really noteworthy, but you do see a few of these in OU every once in a while as well. So I will mention them. So Mega Beedrill, Mega Pidgeot, Mega Sceptile, all faster, all extremely powerful. Not very common, but all faster, extremely powerful, and can be used sometimes in OU. And then Mega Alakazam and Mega Lopunny. Mega Lopunny specifically is on like a lot. It's a very common Pokemon. Both of those Pokemon are faster and easily deal with Gengar, which is that's one reason that Gengar is. Well, I wouldn't say it's not as good because I mean, just the fact that it's such a powerful wall breaker, like Gengar doesn't need to outspeed a lot of things. But I'm just bringing up the option that Scarf could be an option. But anyway, going back to it, Mega Alakazam, Mega Lopunny, they're both in the game right now. They're both very powerful, and they're both fairly common as well. And the speed tier again for 110. There's a lot of new Pokemon who meet that speed tier now. So there's a lot more Pokemon that you don't outspeed, you just speed tie with. So there's a lot of Pokemon that it's a 50-50 chance you're going to lose your Gengar just to it straight up. For instance, Mega Diancie, Mega Metagross, even Mega Gallade, I guess you could throw in. They're all 110 base speed. Metagross is just, it's a 50-50. You're going to lose it. I'm pretty sure you live a hit from Diancie either way, but again, with speed ties, both you guys died at 2 hits, so it all comes down to speed ties, and it's not a like if you just lose a Pokemon as a 50-50, it's not really the best. And then there's a few Pokemon again that just have gotten a lot more usage than they have in the past generation. And they're all faster, they're all really powerful, and they're all things that are gonna outspeed and kill Gengar. So again, Alakazam has risen in usage. I'm talking not Mega Alakazam. Well, obviously Mega Alakazam has used, but what I'm talking about is like Mega Alakazam was used almost as much as it's used in X and Y. I think honestly, like I don't see it that often. But like normal Alakazam went from UU up to OU, and you do see Focus Sash and Life Orb variants of Alakazam every once in a while as well in OU. Not every once in a while, like it's an OU Pokemon, so people use it, and it's good in OU. And that's what I'm saying. Like it's faster, it's a threat, it exists, it's something that has to be played around. Weavile is one of like the most noteworthy things. Weavile is on like every other team now. It's really powerful, it's really good this gen, just really good in this meta. Like its offensive typing is just really, really good this gen, and in this meta, and so Weavile's arisen in usage a lot, and Weavile is faster than Gengar. Weavile beats Gengar pretty much 1-on-1 if you're not Scarf. So Weavile is one of the most noteworthy thing. But there's also Superior, Torrentee, and Starmie. Those are the three noteworthy things that kind of got a lot more usage this gen. Obviously, superior because of contrary. It's higher, it's faster than 110. And then Torrentee, really good Pokemon. I don't know really know why it wasn't used a lot last gen. To be honest with you, I didn't use it, but a lot of times I make teams now. I consider using it, and I've used it on a few teams now. So I don't know why it's just better this gen, but I'm pretty sure it pretty much is better this gen. But Torrentee's gotten a lot more usage, and of course Starmie's gotten a lot more usage as well. You definitely notice that Starmie's gotten a lot more usage, which is good. Starmie, I think, belongs in OU just like as a respect thing. I think like it's a really good Pokemon, and I feel like it deserves a spot in OU. So just a lot of people are using it. It's a really good Pokemon. It's like Keldeo quote unquote check. Like it's a really good Pokemon. It's not quote unquote check, quote unquote counter. Like it's a really good Pokemon. I really like Starmie, but the fact that Starmie's in OU just dilutes the value of the speed tier for 110 once again, because it just means there's a lot more things that are faster than Gengar. Gengar can't spin block a Starmie if it's not scarfed. So Gengar can't spin block a Starmie. Gengar can't beat a Starmie. Can't Starmie can't switch in obviously, but like that's just the thing. Gengar's become more of a wall breaker. And it always was a wall breaker, but just just what I'm saying is its value is kind of decreasing in terms of being able to beat offensive things, because hyper offense is kind of a very common playstyle now. It's like hyper offense and like goth stall that are like the two gross things to play on the ladder. I don't know. I just don't like playing out hyper offense, but like hyper offense is a very common playstyle because it's a really fun playstyle to play. So a lot of people play hyper offense, and Gengar used to be really good against hyper offense because Gengar would just outspeed the majority of things anyway, and you kill frail things. But now hyper offense, like 5 out of their 6 Pokemons outspeed your Gengar anyway, so its value really decreases. So what I'm trying to say is I'm trying to wonder if Scarf Gengar is viable to beat, because pretty much everything that I mentioned you beat if you're Scarfed. Like Mega Alakazam, you beat that if you're Scarfed. Weavile, you'll beat that if you're Scarfed. Like you live Ice Shard, like you beat Weavile if you're Scarfed. You beat Superior if you're Scarfed. You don't beat Torrentee. I guess I should take that back. Torrentee is always a really good check to Gengar, unless they got like Icy Wind and they catch you on the switch in with that. But Torrentee is really good. I'm just gonna Torrentee. But what I'm getting is you outspeed Torrentee, right? Mega Diancie, Mega Metagross, Mega Glade, you'll guaranteed outspeed, and you can kill them all. Beedrill, Sceptile, again, all those Pokemon, Starmie, like all these Pokemon you'll be able to actually beat, as opposed to being afraid and having to switch out or taking 70% from Volt Switch, or it's just nice to be able to beat these. But on the counter argument, for against Choice Scarf, it's also worth mentioning that Gengar isn't only good because of its speed stat. Gengar has such a diverse move pool, such a really good move pool, that it's really hard to not use just like it's really hard to not just use like Life Orb, because like the Life Orb variant is one of the best Gengar sets in the game, because like Gengar is one of the best taunt users pretty much in the entire tier right now, like just because of its typing, its offenses, its speed. It's one of the best users of taunt pretty much in the tier, other than like Mew, I guess. But like I'm pretty sure taunt Gengar is pretty much one of the best taunt users in the game, in the tier. Sub Disable, kind of overlooked by a lot of people, but I think Sub Disable is also one of the best sets, just because the amount of things you can check was the amount of things you could beat was really good. It was a lot better in X and Y, because I used to use it all the time in X and Y. It was really, really good in X and Y, and for some, like, no one used it, but like Sub-Disable Gengar was like honestly probably one of the best Gengar sets in X and Y, just because again you outsped everything and you beat most things one-on-one, like offensive Sub-Disable, not like the bulky Hex Wisp set that you've seen me use, like the sub disable Shadow Ball Focus Blast just destroyed teams. Like you can use that Gengar set that I just said and like get 3 kills a game just by them having to constantly switching out. Like it's really good. It's an because it's still so powerful. So sub disable is another very useful like things that you can do when you're not locked into a move. Destiny Bond is not used very much, but Destiny Bond is really a very viable option on Gengar as well. You beat a lot of things. Substitute just in general, just substitute. Just because, like I said, Gengar is so powerful that you force so many switches, and if they've got like a Lopunny and a I don't know, a Scizor, and you're trying to decide which one of your stab moves you go for to, because he's got immunities to each one. You sub, and then whatever he brings in, then you can accordingly go for the move that you want to go for. So sub is honestly one of my favorite moves to use on Gengar, just in general. But you can use sub as, like I said, just you force so many switches just because it's such a powerful Pokemon. Like there's just so many really really powerful options you can have. Even Pain Split helps you beat a lot of bulky things. Will-O-Wisp lets you cripple a lot of, like I've used Will-O-Wisp on so many sets with Gengar. It lets you beat a lot of things. You can Wisp on like a Sucker Punch. And like again, that's what the other thing is. Scarf doesn't beat Sucker Punch or Pursuit users. Like if you're locked into Shadow Ball, you just get Pursuit trapped and die, as opposed to being able to switch moves and play around with stuff like that. Play around with the 50-50 as opposed to just losing your thing all in general. So it's a bit iffy. Like that's what I'm wondering. Like I'm wondering people's input, what they think. It also goes back to the kind of surprise factor because, like, again, literally no one ever uses Scarf Gengar because it's always been under the impression that it's a bad Pokemon, bad option for a Pokemon because it's wasted potential, and that's just the biggest thing. It feels like it's wasted potential, but I don't know. I'm really not sure. This is not from experience. I have never used Scarf Gengar in my life. I am open to try it, and I would like to try it sometime soon to kind of try to find out because honestly, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if the extra speed is worth it on the Gengar. Like it's nice because you can, beat a lot of things that are faster that are going to stay in because they're going to assume they're faster. Its offensive typing is really good for a Scarf user because, well, it's got pretty much perfect neutral coverage in, well, I say in the tier, but it's got perfect neutral coverage in the entire game, which is, it's pretty amazing. I mean, you get walled by Chansey where Life Orb Variant doesn't, but what can you do? It's a really good. It seems like it could be a really good option just because of how much more it can do than a few other things. Like it does less than other things, but it does less than other Gengar sets. But what it does is the things that this set does do is things that the normal Life Orb set could not do. It beats things that the Life Orb set could not do. It's also worth mentioning that Gengar gets Trick. So if you don't need the speed, you can always give the Scarf to like their incoming Chansey. Like if you're against like a full stall team, you can just trick and like beat it with this. Although on the note of a full stall team, you outspeed Scarf Goth with this, which is nice because they all run that disgusting Scarf Gothitelle. Well, I mean I take that back because you're a ghost, you're not trapped anyway. I'm stupid, but like I don't know, you outspeed Scarf Goth, which is worth mentioning, I guess. I don't know. Honestly, I have no idea. If anyone has used Scarf Gengar, please let me know if it is good, because I'm actually very curious. If you haven't used Scarf Gengar yet, I recommend you try it just to try it, just to see, because I think this could be like could be a diamond in the rough. It could be an actual really good Pokemon, or item option for Pokemon that kind of we've been overlooking. Like I don't know. I think this moveset seems like it has potential. I think people just need to test it out and see and find what works with it for it to be an option. Yeah.